right. That was Miguel Johnson from his album The Explorers. And the name of the song, I'm hopping around here real quick, was Wandering. So, we're going to start this stream a little differently. This is take two. Those of you guys who stuck with us for the first bit, thank you so much. I apologize for the technical issues. All right, can everyone hear me? Let's start this out right. You guys can hear Kyle right this time. Plus there's content. It's always good. Beautiful. I appreciate that, Fee. You are a superstar. Thank you. Can everybody, just testing, can anybody hear just all right? Can anybody hear me? Say hi. This is Roy Cookson we have tonight with us, and Commander Fee as well. All right. Can somebody confirm that the sound is okay? Yeah, I think it's because of the delay they're hearing the song. Yeah, so far so good. I hear you. Okay, good. All right. So let me reintroduce this. This is, welcome everybody. This is Elite Week episode 12. This is Galactic Watercooler. What is Galactic Watercooler? Well, the idea is that we're going to sort of every week get together and have a discussion about what's going on in Elite and what we feel and what we are thinking, and see what you guys feel. Hopefully some of this resonates with you. I have a cast of a dozen or so guys and you know, guys and gals that I have picked that sort of come from different backgrounds. And this is not the super friendos. I'm not looking really for content creators as much in this group. That we've got that covered in the other thing. And you know, we just put out a show on Saturday with you know, Down to Earth Astronomy and the Burrs and Plater and Wotherspoon and myself, and we talked about fleet carriers, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. But this is different. This is okay, Roy is saying he's not hearing you guys on the stream. Why don't you guys say something else? Let me go through here and check on the audio. I'm showing you showing up on the audio. On the mic, you're lighting up. We only hear... Yeah, we only hear you now. What the actual... Alright, we're going to fix this right now rather than go on for a while with it. Let's fix this. Settings. Audio. Let me double check this. Alright. Desktop audio is up. Desktop audio 2. Let me change this and make sure that we've got... Alright, so let's change this to... Yes, please. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, that's not really my sport, but
Well, me neither. I don't even follow the Yankees.
I think I have it fixed. If anyone can just confirm, you guys say something. I think you're good now. I think I fixed what that was.
testing 1, 2, 3.
Something. I think we're good now.
All right.
Brown fox jumped over the fence.
So in my working to tweak the audio before I said it, okay, you have them on a different channel on a mixer. If so, it may be muted. I think they should be good now.
Yeah, I hear it now.
All right. Please confirm
job,
you
Roy.
can hear us too. Okay. All right. So now we have. This is. Look. Okay. You guys are getting to see this later on. You know, a year from now, when this channel is booming and everything is going.
We're gonna look back and laugh.
We're gonna. And here's the thing. I am a dumb Marine. Okay. So technical stuff, not my thing. So I apologize, and I'm gonna figure out all of that stream overlay stuff and all of the other things. We're gonna get that stuff working, but for now you can hear us, and that's the important thing, because this is basically just meant to be a podcast. The fact anything on the stream, anyone right now, let me tell you, you're not gonna see anything on the stream that's gonna knock your socks off. You can feel free to just listen to it in audio because it's just that's all this really is. This is us talking. So as I said, I'm going to reintroduce Commander Fee and Commander Roy Cookson, who are here with us. They are two of the cast members of the Galactic Watercooler. Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Right.
Thanks a lot.
Good evening, everybody. Once again,
For the
Deja vu all
18th
over.
time. Yeah. All right. So the idea is the Galactic Watercooler got a dozen people that I think are awesome. I handpicked 2 or 3 of them at a time to come in and have sort of a weekly talk on what's going on. And this week, let's start off with sort of a hint at a thing that may be big, that may be new, that may be like, oh my God, spoiler, something's happening with the Thargoids. And that is the fact that in the Pleiades, there is an AX base, and that base has been renamed in the beta, the Fleet Carrier beta. And that name is Pale Horse Manufacturing. Pale Horse is obviously ominous. It is from, the Bible, Revelations, and I saw a pale horse, and on him was a rider, and it was death. It's got some massive, sort of, what do you call it? Sort of, what would you guys call it? Like foreshadowing or ominous?
Yes.
Something to it.
Foreshadowing.
Yes.
Some major disruption.
So now I should say this to be absolutely clear, because I don't want to mislead anyone and say, I definitively have the inside scoop, this is a thing. Because it could also just be a beta bug. Betas be betas, and they have bugs, and they have problems, they have issues. Now, there is a base that had that name already existing in the Pegasi system. And that base is now renamed to what the name of the pre-existing base was in the Pleiades, the AX base. So this could literally just be a weird situation of some kind of a glitch or bug in the database caused those names to switch completely unbeknownst to and unplanned by Frontier Development. We don't know, and we won't know until June when they launch. Some people are saying it's going to be June 16th. Some people are saying it's going to be the 23rd. We'll see. But in June, I am definitely going to be looking to see, because a ticket has already been opened with Frontier about this quote-unquote bug or glitch or potential problem. And if in June, because Frontier knows about this, I've confirmed it, I've spoken with them directly, they know about this. If in June it's still this way, then it's not a glitch. To my mind, it's not a glitch. It's a message. This is a sign of something coming. And
If it's a glitch, it's awfully relevant.
If it's a glitch, that's a holy crap. That's interesting. That's a weird coincidence that it came up with that. But we'll see. If in June, when fleet carriers roll out, we see that the names are back the way they are right now in live, then I think it was a glitch. If in June we see the names are still changed, to me, that's a hint, that's foreshadowing, that is exciting. Because, and just to roll into the second part of this, this episode is called Dear Frontier for a reason. This is a couple of unabashed fanboys of Frontier Development. I love Frontier Development. I love Elite Dangerous. I am a fanboy. I am not ashamed of that. And I don't think that I should be. I say it proudly. I'd wear the t-shirt. But this is a message from some of your fans, some of your super fans saying, hey guys, there's some feelings, there's some things, there's some thoughts that we would like you to hear, because we say with love, we would like some things to possibly be better. I think it could be better for us. It could be better for you. It could be better for the sort of future of the game as a whole. And one of those things, a strong thing, is we want to see more lore, more narrative, something back into the game. In the early days of Elite Dangerous, there was constantly new things being found, awesome things between the stuff that was going on with Canon research, where they were finding, these weird things that were printing out signals in numbers, and they would running that code through a filter, and they were coming up with stuff like, oh, this is a location to go check out, or oh, this is, it was spitting out stuff like that would describe your ship back to you or whatever, where it was like, okay, this is interesting. There were new Guardian ruins. There were new what do you call that, like phenomenon being found, and new and interesting things. There was, stuff with INRA and Black Flight, and stuff like that hinted at, like, oh my God, Project Destiny, and the Zerara and megaships and whatever. And we completely understand that your team has been broken up into two parts. There's one part which is a very small portion of the overall team, and that is working on current Elite, and that team has been very much focused on fleet carriers. And then there's the majority of your team that has been completely focused on, next era. And while we completely get that, it was all hands on deck from the current team, from the current Elite team, to just get fleet carriers right. And we appreciate that, and we love the work that you're putting into it, and we love the product as it's shaping up through the beta process. It was a little rough at the start, but it's coming around really, really well. While we were happy for all of that, we're also very gratified to hear that Frontier is making statements and noises now to the extent of, hey, after fleet carriers hit production in June, we absolutely intend to bring back Galnet's content. We absolutely intend to bring back, where appropriate, interstellar initiatives and CGs, whatever. And like, this is a good sign. Now, this Pale Horse thing, the fact that the Pleiades base got renamed to what was previously the Pegasus system base, the Pale Horse manufacturing, if that is a thing, and if that is a hint towards, hey man, I've been on record for a while to say that my belief is that they stutter stepped like hell, because the storyline of the Thargoids was meant to coincide with the product launch of fleet carriers. And the leak that everyone has heard and everybody's talked about is, elite feet, first person shooter style, running around on your feet out there in the world. And that was supposed to be tied towards FPS Thargoid style something. And they've had models they've put out of those Thargoids and whatnot that everybody's seen. And base building. Okay, now on the elite feat side of it, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of first person shooters. I used to do that in real life. It's not a game mode that I ever have enjoyed. If I'm playing a video game, I want to be a wizard, I want to be a barbarian with a big axe, I want to be flying a spaceship. I want something that's not running around shooting people with guns. I don't enjoy that. That's just me. I know there's a lot of people that love that stuff. That's a big market. But for me, the thing that's exciting about the first person aspect of the game is two things. Number one, I would love to see something like Satisfactory or Deliver the Moon, where you're running around on foot, picking up pieces of materials and using it to build a base, using it to build a structure, using it to create a thing. That would be awesome. FPS shooters running around, playing Starship Trooper and shooting Thargoids, it's just not a thing that excites me. I get that some people will like it. But the thing that does excite me is you can't get to there from here without progressing the story. Either, if we're at the point now where we're seeing Thargoids on foot and interacting with them in a friendly manner, in a non-friendly manner, in a murder everybody manner, whatever, it has to be that either A, they're on our turf and they're invading with some form of burn the bubble, which I don't think is going to happen as a for realsies thing, because they put too much time and effort into building this up and trying to attract new players. They don't want the new players to be stymied and unable to access their engineers or unable to get their rares to again, access their engineers or unable to do rep grinds or this, that, and the other because of some reason. If there's a burn the bubble, I think it's going to be a set piece. I think it's going to be a for show, and I think it's going to be a part 1 to a part 2, which is more actual interesting things. And that would be the opposite side, us taking it to them. I would love to see the Cole 70 sector get a dozen or so systems, 5 systems, 10 systems, whatever, unlocked. And it'd be a thing where it's like, hey man, you know how the Zendy Megabus goes every Thursday? It swaps places and it goes down to the area where, in Sineuf, where you have the Guardian Ruins. I would love to see a Zendy Megabus type combat thing, right? That goes once a week, and then, or your friends that go anytime you want, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with their fleet carrier that can jump 500 light years. I would love to see, hey, jump 500 light years and go out and see this thing. And this thing is this new system where it's a hard mode of the game. It has way harder fights. It's stuff that's just for advanced players. It has a continuation of cool storyline stuff. And it can't just be harder. It also has to have rewards commensurate with that increased challenge. So greater risk and greater reward. I would love to see that. So time will tell, guys. What do you guys think with regard to this whole pale horse thing? Do you think I'm just a wild, and I know this is unfair because this is just wild speculation at this point. But do you think it's a glitch, or do you think it's a continuation, a hint of a continuation of story?
I'll go first. I think if it's a glitch, maybe they didn't mean for it to be viewable yet. It just seems too relevant, like I said before, to what would have been the ongoing story for it to be a complete mistake, I think.
Okay.
I mean, certainly appreciate it if the storyline picks back up again and all the communications turn back on and some of the wonder is reinjected back into things.
Okay. All right. Fee, how you feeling?
Yeah, I've been listening and digesting and even watching the chat on YouTube and Chapter Master Carcharius has some ideas here about everything that you've been mentioning, and I've been thinking about that as well. And I think it is feasible that as he mentioned or she that this was a bug that should have been fixed a long time ago, and we just happened to notice in the beta that it's been addressed. I think that's plausible, but at the same time, what you guys are talking about, kind of setting the stage for something bigger in relation to the Thargoids, almost makes more sense and really kind of paves the way for the way things are going.
Yeah, man.
The majority of those lock systems that we can't get to right now, that there's no way into, that we've been kind of dancing around with our ships to date. I would perceive that something like you mentioned, where you have 12 or more systems that all of a sudden we're now able to get into, and wouldn't it be badass if there were Thargoid hives, similar to Coriolis or even outpost stations, but for the Thargoids. And now you have the ability to attack those with a fleet carrier full of fighters or something like that.
Oh.
And even going back to the burn the bubble concept, I'm with you. I don't want to burn the bubble. I want to increase the prevalence of the bugs in the bubble. I want to make it Elite a little bit more dangerous, but I don't want to ruin the new player experience. I think there are a lot of us out there. I happened to check when we were getting started here. I've got over 2,000 hours in the game, and just I think there's so many of us that are at the end game stage of the game where we've done a lot of discovery. We've I don't want to say seen it all and done it all. Because even after 2,000 hours, there's stuff that I still have yet to do. That's one of the reasons why I love this game is you can have that many hours and still not have the entire list of stuff crossed off. I think there's a lot of potential there. I think that but I would agree that a lot of what's going on with what's coming in the beta and new era is catering to the end game and setting the stage for what could happen with the Thargoids and maybe the Guardians and maybe something entirely different that we haven't even learned about yet.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Carcarius makes some phenomenal points, as does Tangent Revolution in the comms where in the chat where he's talking about like like yeah the early days. Okay, granted there was a lot of flying around and not that much, but there was a sweet spot where canon was hopping with new discoveries, and the Guardian stuff was happening, and the Thargoids in 3304, so 2 years ago, so 2018, when the Thargoids had just sort of returned, there was a sweet spot there where like there was a lot going on. And I just feel, me personally, like again, the name of this episode is Dear Frontier, like we we get that you have created Stellar Forge, which Dr. K. Ross, oh my God, I love you. You are a genius and a phenomenal human being and a treasure. David Braben, I love you. You are a phenomenal human being and a treasure. You guys created this thing, and it is maybe the most amazing canvas that has ever existed. And I love you both, and I want to thank you for creating this canvas, this 400 plus billion star systems in a galaxy. But there needs to be room for the Michael Brookses. There needs to be room for the Drew Wagars. There needs to be room for the talented artists of the non-computery type, the storytellers, to the Kate Kate Russell, the guy who wrote The Dark Wheel, The Wheel Turns, As the Wheel Turns, whatever. There needs to be room for the storytellers out there to be able to tell that amazing story by a campfire that will inspire and captivate the people. I came into this game for two reasons. One, because of the amazing canvas that you guys made, but two, because of the amazing stories that were being painted on that, so beautifully on that canvas. And I just want to, with love and respect, say to Frontier, it's time to get back to it on the aspect of new codex entries, new things out there, new story, new continuations of things, whether it's INRA stuff or Galcop stuff or Blackflight stuff or the mystery of Mick Turner's father and Polaris and all of these things. If you guys go back, anyone who's listening to me right now, if you have not yet checked out Sagittarius Eye magazine, which does both a PDF magazine and a podcast, you are so impoverished of so many hours of great stories for Elite Dangerous that will inspire you and will send you out there in search of these cool things. It's amazing stories, but they need more to work with. They need more raw story coming from Frontier. We need that so that this canvas doesn't seem like it's just being painted in black and white.
And I think, one thing that comes to mind, Kai, while you're talking through that is the amount of content creators for this game. I don't think, I've been gaming since the 70s. I fart dust. I'm old. And one of the things that I've never seen a game with even World of Warcraft or any number of video games that have been out across multiple platforms that have really the depth and the amount of community support with these content creators that we've got out there for this game. And to your point, I think they have certainly done an outstanding, amazing, phenomenal job of supporting and helping to build a lot of the story around what Frontier provided through Galnet and through everything that they did within the game with CGs and everything else. But I would agree with you that getting the lore back into the game itself, to not support the content creators, but to like you said, give them a canvas to build off of, I think is super valuable. And it also, from a player perspective, just beyond the content creators, from a player perspective, it does help to kind of build that Roy, I think you mentioned it, that internal, I don't want to call it a monologue, but the story of
The head canon, the internal head canon.
Exactly, the head canon. And the visualization of being this space swashbuckler, having your own space adventures. I think that's a big reason why a lot of us play the game. Is we're all our own individual Han Solo or Buck Rogers or whoever you want to be, and having that lore provided by Frontier is definitely a huge piece of that. And I would agree that since they stopped at the end of last year, there has been a hole in my life. There's been a hole in my life.
Roy?
I'd echo a lot of that. I mean, likewise, I've been playing games for a very long time. I played the original Elite. I was a Kickstarter backer. Played some of the earliest MMOs like Ultima Online, EverQuest, other Sims, BattleTech, Civilization, Stellaris, Orbiter 2016, and Kerbal Space Program. And one of the threads that runs through all those is their sandboxes to a degree. And actually something I'd say even beyond that is the earliest ones of that aren't photorealistic games, which I think speaks to this idea that a lot of this takes place in your own head.
Yeah, man.
You just need a sort of a structure or a scaffold to build this around. So when we're talking about putting more lore back into the game, it's not, we're not asking for 500 bespoke star systems. It's simply the hint of a mystery. Like look at the conversation that just came up around the Pale Horse manufacturing. All the ideas Fee just brought up and you've talked about. It sparks, people can run with it. And just the hint that some of that might be real, or a portion of it. Now, granted, some of it needs to become real over time. But it's this idea that you don't have to handhold people that much, I don't think, to have a rich and imaginative experience in these games.
Yeah, man, 100%. 100%. Yeah, you know what you talk about when you say, some of these games weren't photorealistic. Let's be honest. Elite from 1984, by today's standard, absolute crap visuals. It's just this little, lines and whatever. Because and with respect, I don't mean that disrespectfully to them. Like you couldn't make anything like you can make today back then.
I mean, it was stunning for its time.
Yes,
it was
absolutely
for its time.
It was stunning for its time, but it's looking at just because you said photorealistic. Looking at games of today, right? That 1984 Elite, was nothing. But the story contained in it and all of the stuff, I think, still holds up today against a lot of games. The story that was in there, it allowed you to build a universe in your mind that people wanted to inhabit. And Elite Dangerous is, of course, with all of the new bells and whistles and the amazing, 36 years later, the technology's better. You're going to be able to create a better, you have a better canvas to work with. But the painting itself in the 1984 Elite, the story was just beautiful and perfect and amazing. And go ahead.
Another obvious difference is back then, obviously, there wasn't wiki. You couldn't go watch YouTube videos about how to go find whatever in the game.
Yeah.
But what supported all those early games, whether it was Elite or some of the earliest D&D type, Pools of Radiance and other things, was the manual that came with the game, and that's all you had. A poster, a manual, maybe a figurine or something, and the things that were talked about in those manuals painted a far richer picture than the game could actually visually illustrate.
Oh,
in some cases, couldn't. There was elements mentioned in there that had no actual basis in the game.
Yeah.
But it filled in the story and got your mind running, and then that's what created the narrative that you were playing through the vehicle of the game.
Dude, I still remember having the book to, was it Wizardry 7? That it had those rhinoceros dudes with the blunderbuss guns. And it was just the whole story of their society and whatever. Yeah, you can captivate someone's imagination with a story in a way that you give them in 5 pages of text a good enough story, a good enough hook that it captures their imagination, and they will run with it and create volumes in their head. and will play your game for years. So, all right. The lore and the narrative, we would like it back. We're very, very happy to hear from Frontier that, there's plans for it to come back. We're very interested and anxious to see what happens with this possible hint. We're very much... I felt like the storyline has stutter-stepped because it was tied to fleet carriers, and now that we got fleet carriers, we are going to get a run-up going to the next era, some lead-in story-wise that will take us there, that I'm super, super excited for, and I hope that you guys out there listening are as well.
Yeah, and real quick, I just remembered a concern I had from take one. We're going through this.
Sure.
And that was related to New Era and developing the story, bringing lore back. The concern that I have is that the game will not pivot to developing everything around what may come out of that update. In other words, having everything from a lore perspective, having everything from the story perspective focus on that potential FPS part of the game or that potential base building part of the game, and leaving the space exploration and space battle and space trucking aspect of the game still where it is right now today, dare I say, stale, right? So I'm hoping that when lore comes back, it's holistic across everything, even if, when we get to that point where those updates are out, that the lore encompasses everything, and it doesn't push those of us that still enjoy just sitting here chilling with our HOTAS, flying around in space, doing our thing while there is a story going on. If we pick up a laser rifle and run around and shoot bugs. You know what I'm saying?
I completely understand what you're saying, and to that point, here's how I would respond. I don't think you have to worry, and here's why. Elite Dangerous was not a space sim game that they suddenly realized, oh crap, Fortnite is the new hotness. We're going to make Fortnite with Thargoids. We're going to go ahead and abandon what we're doing, and we're going to start this new thing. Elite feet or space legs or whatever you want to call it, and fleet carriers and base building, these were all things that were in the original Kickstarter roadmap. So this isn't a situation of they've decided to pivot, abandon their old game to chase the new hotness. This was thought of and conceptualized from the very beginning to be a massive sort of interdependent ecosystem that would have all of it built in. So I personally feel very much like the aspect of space legs that excites me, like I said, is more the engineering side of it. I love the concept of saying, hey man, I'm going to fly over this planet, right? Searching for, I've got a sensor suite, this new sensor suite that's coming into the game that's going to say like, hey man, you're within 5 miles of this new, like maybe let's say mechanic wise, game mechanic. Like how do you do this mechanic wise? Because you don't want it to just fly right up to the thing. To make it interesting, let's say you get a new module, and that module looks for these new engineering materials of some kind that's used for base building or used for upgrading your laser rifle or I don't know, something, right? But let's say you fly over, and just like when you do those scan job missions or whatever, and it's like, okay, you got to go to this base and you got to infiltrate the base and get information. You fly over with your ship, and it gives you like a circle of like a 5-mile radius, and it says, or 2-mile radius, something, whatever game mechanic. You guys figure this out. You're smarter than me. You get to an area, and it's like, this is the radius of the search area. And you land your ship in that circle somewhere, maybe in the middle of it, and deploy in an SRV. Now that you've deployed in your SRV, you've got the built-in mechanic there of the SRV scanner, and it's scanning for the material. Some updated version of that scanner is scanning for the thing that you're looking for. And then let's say you get within, say, I don't know, 100 meters in your SRV, and then you have to get out and like, okay, now you're in the circle for that. Now you get out and you're on foot, and you've got some kind of a wrist comm scanner thing that you're looking around at, and then it says like, okay, boom, there it is. It's 8 feet that way. You go there, you know, go, and there's some kind of a mini game. You know how you have some games where it's like, oh, there's a mini game of like a lockpick or a mini game of a whatever. Like in Elder Scrolls Online, you would have lock picks or whatever. You have some interaction where your goal there, because this is not like other materials. This is not like mining tons of, you know, void opals by cracking rocks or whatever. This is a very finite, very small thing that you're trying to get, and you have this goal of like, I have to retrieve this from this rock or this whatever, but in a way like I have to shoot my wrist laser or some shit. I have some special, you know, sonic screwdriver tool, and I have to get into that rock and extract this thing but without breaking it. It's super, super delicate, and there can be an interaction there. So now, by putting a thing on there, some mini game, you've now created a situation where you're, you know, flying to the planet, getting out, driving around in your SRV, getting out, walking around, climb a tree, look under, you know, boom, find a rock, lift up the rock, look on the other side. Okay, there's the thing. Now extract it. That could be that part of it. Shooting Thargoids in the face, I'm not interested in. But that part of it, of the engineering part or whatever, could be so cool.
Oh, and Chapter Master Carcharius again had a great idea. He gets a gold star for tonight's stream.
Okay, wait. If he's coming up with all these great things, you have to say his name right. He's got a shark as a thing, so it's like Carcharius. So it's like Carcharodon Megalodon. So Chapter Master Carcharius.
Now you see, you're saying that we're smarter than you, but you just one upped me in the.
I just like sharks.
Category.
I just like sharks. Okay, go ahead.
Fine. And now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, so yeah, basically he's talking about augmenting and enhancing the existing mission system. So you know, he mentioned surface missions. Imagine if you actually have to land outside a surface base, and instead of just doing that scanning the data point, you actually have to go inside that base or infiltrate that base and find a data point inside the base that you got to scan. You know, taking it another step.
Yes, that could be cool.
That could be cool, but again, I think to your point, you know, there's a fine line there where you may have to use your laser rifle to maybe shoot a sentry, and I think that would be okay, or a skimmer. I'm with you though, Kai. You know, the FPS piece, I'm not looking to get that out of this game. I like sitting in my spaceship.
Yeah, but I think there's going to still be ways to do that. Maybe, look, if there's people that are deploying, that are going out there to shoot Thargoids or whatever, you and I could be the guys that are driving the drop ships, that we drop the troops and we drop the guy in a tank. Now, I don't want to run around shooting people, but I will drive the hell out of a tank. If you give me some SRV that's a tank, oh, that's another vehicle. I'm in. Let's go. Or if I'm flying the drop ship that drops you guys, and now I'm flying over the area and I'm shooting the Thargoid version of the tank, so that you guys can, the people that love running around and doing FPS crap, can do that, you know, unmolested by the Thargoid tank. You know, that, you know, I could do that. I could be a gunship. I could be a warthog and do close air support, you know, ground support on you. Like, that could be cool. Roy, you had something?
Well, I was going to say, that's been a strength of this game, and I know Down to Earth Astronomy's talked about this in the past, where there's multiple modes to play the game, and to a degree, they don't force you to do one mode to play another. I mean, yes, there's some overlap, and, you know, you have to do certain things to get engineering materials, even if you want to be an explorer all the time, that sort of thing. But, yeah, that would be completely in keeping with sort of the spirit of the game, if there was multiple ways to participate in something, even if you didn't want to play exactly the way everybody else was playing.
Sure, look at how many people play the game right now and never ever buckyball, or never ever AX combat, or never ever, I don't know, pick any, you know, they don't do power play. They never do BGS. They never do whatever. There's tons of other things to do, so I agree with you. I don't think we have to worry about being forced into it. So let's.
Now, one thing, just to thread on one thing you brought up, if I could, about the Kickstarter and the fact that, you know, Elite Feet was something that was mentioned even that early. I think some of the things that, you know, maybe go without saying need to be said, and what I mean by that is, I think FDET has a secret weapon they haven't been using, and that's Dave the Braven. I mean, some of the magic they could bring back. If I think back to the Kickstarter era, he was getting monthly video blogs about the process of the game and the vision of the game. And yes, some of it was, here's a neat new feature that was sort of a consequence of the way the game was being developed right then. But back to the point of, we don't need a lot here to build structure for imagination. If he was to not just send out his armies of community managers and others, but if he was to sit in front of the camera and give a little recorded State of the Union type speech, I think that could go a long way towards, reinvigorating some of the magic of, here's the longer term vision for this game.
Well, okay, let's go there. Roy jumped ahead to the next thing on the agenda, but I agree. So that was a thing that is on the agenda. So here's the thing. David Braben is a very rich computer genius. Now, when David Braben was putting out the Kickstarter, he had to subject himself to a lot of press because you needed your computer genius out there up front, and he had to subject himself to a lot of stuff that you could tell at times he was comfortable and excited and was animated, and it was great. And at other times you could tell, the guy's like, hey man, I'm bummed. I don't want to do this. I'm a computer guy. I'm not really a face guy. I'm not really I don't want to be like in any way rude or whatever, but it's like some of the most amazing computer genius aren't the most sort of people person comfortable dealing with whatever. And then also, let's face it, press, fans, people, just the unwashed masses can be dicks. And when you get to the point that you're rich enough that you're running the largest game developer and publisher in the United Kingdom, you no longer have to subject yourself to all of that. But I 100% agree with you that we, the elite fanboys, want some FaceTime with the great and powerful Oz. We want David Braben. Now, I don't think that the right move is David Braben on a stream. You're going to get too many trolls and dicks and whatever. No. I don't think that necessarily the right move is David Braben doing live press. I think the move there, he's now graduated to the point where he doesn't subject himself to that. What he can do is do a pre-recorded, hour-long, whatever thing where he is, it's edited by his team. It makes him look good. He's very, very comfortable and relaxed. You have the right people in his community management team asking him the right questions that feed into productive, those animated discussions of David Braben of old. Because the fact of the matter is there are some people in the game that have some frustrations, and we'll get into those frustrations here in just a moment. But they're in those frustrations, they're making repeated statements of, David Braben is MIA, Elite is on unannounced, maintenance mode. Elite is no longer the favorite child of the company. Elite's now just sort of a backwater project. All of these kind of statements are being made, and I don't agree with them. I think they're wrong. I don't think David Braben no longer loves or cares about Elite. I think David Braben loves and cares about Elite as much as he always has. He doesn't like doing press. And I can't say that I blame him. It's a no-brainer. When you get to the point where you don't have to do press anymore because you're successful and rich and powerful enough and have a whole staff to do press, you send them all to deal with that crap, and you don't have to. Because guess what? Your Wills and your Tims and your Bruces and your Stevens, they're better at it. Their job as community managers, as community people, their job is to be the face. Their job is to smile at rude assholes asking the wrong questions and to go, that's a great question, and then lead them into what the right question is. Whereas your computer genius dude, his job is to be working on higher level shit. His job is to be making the future for us so that we can be happy. So what I would love to see, because at the same time that all of that is the case, FaceTime with David Braben is a premium. So if he were to do a pre-recorded thing where it's, it's whatever, scripted, he's asking the question, he's being asked questions by his community management team or by sort of a hand-selected sort of person. They have an idea of what the questions are going to be. They edit it. It makes it as relaxing and sort of unpainful an experience as possible for Mr. Braben. He can then come out of of behind the scenes and he can do a thing, because I agree with you 100%. A State of the Union, maybe a once a year thing where we get an hour of FaceTime with David Braben, is worth more than 100 hours of streams from the team. Those old videos of him excitedly talking about different things are so wonderful. And the idea of, if we could get, say in August or October, we could get, an hour long with David where he's saying like, hey man, I want to come out here and show you this stuff. I'm so excited. I'm so happy that I finally have got to show you this stuff. We've been working on this for the last 2 years. We've been going at it like crazy. Here is Elite Feet, and this is awesome stuff, and here's the exciting, wonderful things that's going to bring. Here is base building, and it's awesome, and this is the wonderful things it's going to bring. I think we're going to get ice planets along with Next Era. This is just me personally. So, he gets like, let me show you this ice planet. Let me show you. But just that animation, that excitement, that when you get to see the great and powerful Oz, when you see his face light up, that is worth more than anything else. And that's worth more than any stupid promo reel you could put out, any whatever. Your fans, the people that love you and love your product and are here for the long run, they want to see the man on stage. And it doesn't have to be live, and it doesn't have to be a painful experience for you, David. It can be it can be I've now graduated far enough that I don't have to dance live in front of the masses and have, deal with anybody throwing shit at me. You can do it easy mode now. You deserve it. You've earned it. You put your time in the trenches. But we really need to see your face, because
I think though, Kai,
go ahead.
He's bordering on George Lucas prequels. George Lucas prequels was David Braben today as well, right? God Mode. He's done incredible things. He's inspired a generation with space adventures, and having him just show his face and talk about the awesome things that he did, in George Lucas's case with the Star Wars universe, did exactly what you're talking about, right? And I think you're kind of asking the same thing of David Braben for Elite, and I think that makes sense. Maybe though he is hesitant to step into the limelight in any form or function, because he's afraid of a prequel scenario where he ruins it for everybody and everybody hates him for the rest of his life, and he turns around and fills it off to EA, and we all hate the game.
I think that I think that's a very interesting analogy. In my mind, he as a leader, any leader, there's certain things that you just can't delegate. I mean, you can, but it's nowhere near as powerful. I see David as if you want to think about his company and what they can do, he's a force multiplier. Even a 15-minute fireside chat from him that has very little real content is something that then all his community managers can run with and expand upon to whatever degree they decide and strategize around. I think it makes all the sense in the world for him to be front and center in a big reveal when they can talk about all the things that are coming in the new era, but that might not be for some time, at least to any depth. And so even something smaller would, I think, help put to rest a lot of the maybe more negative things, stories, feelings that have come up in the absence of that information. When you don't put any information out there, people are ungrounded. They'll just come up with whatever they want to come up with. You can put a lot of that to bed with a 15-minute pre-recorded video.
Well, and the other thing that just occurred to me though is thinking back to when he was in the limelight more, how many community managers did he have? How many talking heads did he have to stand up and do this for him? I'm assuming that number was smaller because I don't know.
Yeah.
And so what I'm wondering is, now that he has, like I mentioned, established his company as the leading game development company in the UK, and he has now given himself the capability to have a staff of community managers that can be those talking heads, to be the face of the games, to be the face of the company for him. He has delegated it, and I get what you're saying, Roy, is that, that there's certain things that you can't do or you shouldn't do, but at the same time, I'm wondering if, he's trying to give himself the flexibility and the agility to go do other things to build the brand and make the company stronger in other avenues.
And I get that.
Well,
I 100% get that. But at this point, there's enough memes and jokes and whatever, and some of it is funny and some of it is what, David Braven is a lizard man, this, that, and the other. He's whatever. But the underlying the kernel of that is, people are frustrated because they know that this was his passion project, this was his baby, and they haven't got FaceTime with him for a while. And humans are fickle little monkeys, and we need reassurance. We need this, that, we need the other. So what I'm saying is, if he comes out on stage, and again, pre-recorded, very, very easy, very, very low stress for you, David. If he comes out and does, the Apple, routine. If he comes out and does the Steve Jobs thing and highlights it, and again, anything goes wrong, edit, cut out, no problem. He comes out and does that, it's gonna allay a lot of fears. It's gonna hype more than anything you could possibly see. We need FaceTime with him. We need FaceTime with Dr. K. Dr. K needs to be. She needs to be on a Discovery scanner. We need some FaceTime with Zach Antonacci. I know this is not sort of the funnest things for those guys, but just a little bit here and there of like, hey man, here's a sneak peek. I'm so excited. I get to show you this. Here it is. Oh my God. I can't tell you how powerful, that would be. So.
Look, you can put this in financial terms if you want. He's now the head of a large public company. And if you want to think about it that way, he has three assets. The company has three major assets at their disposal that, if left unused, it's kind of wasteful. One is a franchise with a 36-year pedigree. There's not too many games that have that. The second is a user base that is both passionate, fanatic, has come up with all kinds of, as you mentioned, reams of artwork and stories and third-party programs, tools, and on and on and on. And then the third thing is his connection with that audience that goes all the way back to the start. Those are assets of the company. And companies don't, they don't do themselves a service if they ignore those assets.
Yeah, 100%. So let's transition into the next topic, which is frustrations. I believe that there have been some frustrations on behalf of the community, and I believe that we're seeing some of that spill into the fleet carrier as a product. And here's what I mean by that. We're seeing some criticisms of fleet carriers that, and I think by and large the community is agreed that fleet carriers are coming out well now. At the very beginning of the beta, that was not at all the feeling. There was a lot of resentment. There was a lot of unhappiness. There was a lot of whatever. But I think people are coming around and seeing that it's like, hey man, this is turning out, way better. This process is going along fairly well. And I think most of the legitimate criticisms that people had about fleet carriers are sort of being addressed and handled and going away. But there are some people that are making hay out of the frustrations and out of the problems or whatever. And let's look for a second at sort of how this all happens, how this works. I think that there's a phenomenon that happens that occurs, and we discussed this in the low sodium super friendos behind the scenes. And I think it was Trax made a really, really good point about a thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And it's a psychological thing. And the Dunning-Kruger effect is, just to put it in sort of layman's terms, because I had to look it up. I was like, I don't know what the hell this is. It's where you know a lot about a game, for example, or a thing, anything. But in this case, you know a lot about Elite Dangerous, right? And you've got thousands of hours in Elite Dangerous. And because of that, you mistakenly overestimate your own knowledge. And now you think, well, I know a lot about this game, therefore I know a lot about game development. And then because you have this overinflated image of how much you know, there's shit that you just think, well, like, hey man, this is easy. Just fix this. Like, I'll give you a perfect example of myself, and I will call myself out on this 100%. I say, how the hell do we not have bookmarks for folders for our bookmarks? Okay, you can go back to Internet Explorer or Firefox or whatever, as far back as it goes, in the late 80s, early 90s, whatever, when the first internet browsers were being created, right? You had folders for your bookmarks, and it literally just showed, okay, you can organize it however you want. You could put it, it's not something that goes on the back end. It doesn't go on the game side of the, it's not on their servers. It's in my thing. It's a folder that's created that I have the ability to create. And I can create a folder that I just call engineers, and a folder that I just call material gathering, and a folder that I call, Raxla Hunt, and a folder that I call BGS stuff and power play and, cool sites and, hanging out with the friends or like whatever. I have my folders and I put all my stuff in there. Now, to me, this seems like an absolute no-brainer. And I stand by that. I still feel right now like, duh, this is easy. But I'm not a game designer. I'm an idiot when it comes to computer programming or anything like that. It took me 3 tries to get this stupid stream up, okay? So, yeah, I am a victim of that Dunning-Kruger effect where if I say, this is obvious, this is easy, and then more so other people, I go on the forums and I say, this is my idea, it's easy, guys. And other people are like, you're right, that's brilliant. I've been saying the same thing for years. A bunch of us idiots, right, all get together and say, we know what it's like. And maybe we're right. Maybe we're wrong. I don't know, but I'm not qualified as a whatever. So frustrations build like that. And they build much, much more so in a content drought. And let's be honest, we're coming out of now a content drought. But some people aren't even giving us the credit for that we're coming out of it, or giving Frontier rather the credit that we're coming out of it. They're saying we're still in the middle of it. This game is in maintenance mode. David Braben doesn't, we don't see him anymore. It's obvious. You don't pay attention to this, that, and the other. And now they shit on fleet carriers and this is horrible. So then what happens is you get a guy, you get a somebody who creates a meme, right? Who then just puts in your head, punishment, they hate us, punishment, rent. This is so punishing, psychologically punishing, whatever. And it catches because the frustration that built up from that content drought mixed with that Dunning-Kruger effect where we all want to backseat drive and say, we could do it better. Where okay, look at my idea of bookmark bars, folders for the bookmark bar. Maybe that's a great idea, and maybe it's not that hard to do. But I am not qualified because I don't see all the back end shit that they're doing where they're like, dude, we had a huge problem. Obviously, let's look at this. They had some form of a problem that started happening with the code around the time of, the end of the Horizons update, and they made a shift. They changed how they were doing stuff. Maybe it's like we're working so hard on this spaghetti code and we're fixing this with this code refresh and we're doing this and we're doing that and we're doing the other. We don't have time to go do your thing. In which case, okay, fair. I don't see that from my end. So for me, it's very easy to go, duh, I think this should be a thing. And Fee goes, I agree, it should be a thing. And Roy Cookson goes, absolutely, it should be a thing. And so 3 non-computer programmers now are agreeing with each other and are saying, duh, this is obvious. And then somebody comes along with the meme of psychologically punishing this, that, and the other, and then we shit on everything. We get sour, we get toxic, we get whatever. It's a thing that happens. Now, I think that Frontier needs to understand and acknowledge that they dug themselves in a little bit of a hole with this content drought, right? They have to acknowledge that. They have to put on their armor, put on their game face, go out there, take the punches, and get through it. They have to rope it out. They have to put on a smile and get to the other side of it. But some of the frustrations were people saying, oh, fleet carriers suck. Okay, why? Well, you can't even afford it. The only thing you could possibly do to afford it is mine until your eyeballs bleed. Mining, whatever. And it's like, okay, that's not at all a criticism about fleet carriers. What you're criticizing there is the balance of credit generation in the game, which is a fair topic and we should discuss. And I think that Frontier is looking at it, and I think that we will see in Next Era some addressing of that. But it's not a criticism of fleet carriers, it's a criticism of the balance of credit generation. So like put the focus where it is. I think fleet carriers suck. Okay, why? Fleet carriers suck because it took 2 hours or it took 2.5 years for this, 3 years for this, whatever. And it's like, okay, whoa. You're again, now that's not a criticism of fleet carriers. That's a criticism of, Next Era took too long. It's taking too long. And okay, I kind of agree with you that there's been a content drought. It's a thing. And it should be addressed. They should comment on it. They should literally address it and say, hey, this is why, whatever. This took a long time because we found out that this was wrong and we had to fix it. And in us fixing it, it created these other problems. There's a reason why we had issues with, CQC had issues. There's a reason why multi-crew and was sort of a how do I put it, was a unsatisfying or an underperforming project. Multi-crew, you can't multi-crew with an SRV. What is that? You can't multi-crew with wing. What? You can't. There's been problems. There's been issues. Now, obviously, these guys aren't idiots. These guys are smart guys. So if it didn't come out right, if there was issues, if it's causing problems, it's because there's something with the code that's an issue that's given them agita. It's giving them, it's killing them. It's giving them a headache. Okay, so they, instead of, I don't know, whatever, throwing their head at the same wall over and over and over, they said, all right, we need to figure out something. We need to change this and this and this with the codes. We're going to make these changes. We're going to put in a lot of effort up front, but, it's going to fix things and make things better for the future. Hey, man, I'm down with that. That's cool. Like, that's awesome.
I think that no matter what, no matter how perfect any game developing company tries to be, no matter how anybody tries to be, somebody else is still going to find an opportunity to bitch and moan and complain because it doesn't meet their standards. You can't, that whole saying about you can't, you can make some people happy most of the time, but you can't make all the people happy all the time, or something like that.
Oh, 100%. But
I think to your point about fleet carriers and the content drought, and really what this is people finding an opportunity to bitch and moan about something. But if you think about it, all things considered, going back to what you mentioned half an hour ago, Frontier is a fantastic game company, and they handle the community and they engage with the community much better than some other much bigger game companies that we could talk about that we probably shouldn't. That have certainly burned a lot of bridges with their user base. And I don't see Frontier doing that. I see Frontier doing the best they can. I see Frontier addressing issues as fast as they can, and I do not see them, and this is the key piece that people need to bear in mind, I don't see them ignoring the community. I see them listening as best as they possibly can and addressing things as best as they possibly can. So people are still going to find things to bitch about. That's still going to happen. You're never going to fix that. But and people need to be thankful that Frontier is doing the very best they can, and that they're listening. I think that the evidence that they're listening is very very obvious.
So I had a conversation with the Yamiks a little over a week ago, and we discussed some issues. And part of it was I brought him up. I brought this up to him. I said, "Look, man, you said flat out uh, when you did the first round of your fleet carrier roundtable discussion, whatever you want to call it. When they did their first round of it, he said flat out, like, hey, the upkeep is way too high. Uh, Decommissioning is horrible. Universal cartographics it's a no-brainer that needs to be in there. And when people ask you, like, well, do you think they'll add it or whatever, you said, hell no. They're going to change upkeep by 15% and call it good when it's clearly not. They said they're gonna decommissioning is gonna stay how it is. They're gonna maybe give you 5%, 10% more back, whatever, and that's a waste. They'll never add universal cartographics. They'll give you some excuse why they're not going to. They've done all of those things. I think what we're seeing, if you look at the people that they've been hiring and looking for backgrounds in MMO for community management, with hiring Tim, hiring Bruce, these have been phenomenal steps forward. If you look at how bad fleet carriers were at the beginning of their beta test versus how much and quickly and rapidly and decisively they have made changes to make it better in every possible way, I think we're seeing a new thing. Spatula in the chat makes a point where he said that the thing that's giving him hope from this is CQC change. Look at the fact that now they've changed the last two major efforts at doing fixes or whatever have included changes in stuff with the AXI, stuff that's been sitting there for forever. And the fact of the matter is, they're now getting to it. Is it that it took too long for them to get there? Yeah, okay, fair enough. I agree. Maybe there's some problems there. But I think the CQC thing was a straight up sign to us that it's like, hey, we're going to go back and start revisiting some of these things that have been bad for a while, and we're going to fix them. We're going to make CQC more viable. Look at the fact that the last two changes, in January, they fixed CQC for the PS4 players that for a year, whenever a CQC PS4 player died, they went to a black screen and kicked him out. So that was just, they did not have that as a game mode. It was completely, as Isaka was saying on Lave Radio, it was just a waste. It was a non-starter. And now their community since January has had CQC. And they didn't just do that, they doubled down, and now they're giving us what we've been asking for a long time. Let us queue in game. Does it create an unintended consequence of, quote unquote CQC combat logging? Yes, and now they're addressing that. Like, they are getting to things that have been sitting for a while. And what I think we're going to see is we're going to see them fixing multi-crew. We're going to see them fixing wing stuff. We're going to see them fixing some of this AXI stuff that's been sitting there for a while. I think what we're seeing is they're reaching out like they never have before, and they're focusing on some of these long sort of thought abandoned. Everybody thought CQC was abandoned. If in December, if I would have said, hey man, over the next 6 months, they're going to both fix CQC for PlayStation and they're going to let you queue up for it in the real game. How many people would have told me I'm full of shit? There's not a chance in hell. They've abandoned CQC. You're a dreamer. You're an idiot. You're naive. You don't know what you're talking about. But they have. They are addressing things and reaching out like they have not before.
I think what you're getting at there, I agree with that. I think what you're getting at is they're rebuilding trust. Each time they do something either that they said they would, or they surprise us by getting around to something that was long asked for, that's another, mark in the ledger on that side.
Yeah.
I go back to, though, you or I saying, trust me, to a community, versus the community manager saying the same thing, versus even a developer at FDev in some, behind-the-scenes interview saying, trust me,
Versus Dave.
Pales in comparison to what we could learn if Dave said, trust me, and he doesn't have to give a bunch of details. Again, it could be, maybe one of their goals is now that, to a degree, as Fee mentioned, they do have experiences demonstrating better behavior with the community than other games. Yeah, it's not perfect, but is it their aspiration to be the best? That would be good to know.
Yeah.
Is it their aspiration to acknowledge, put the fish on the table, the smelly fish, acknowledge some of the things that, we took too long for that, or, boy, that's terrible. But the buck stops here. I commit to you that, we are going to fix these things. Like, just a commitment to that could, I think, rejuvenate and repair a huge degree of whatever trust has been eroded.
And I think that there is truth to that, what you just said there, of even if you say, even if you say, yes, this was a problem. Yes, we abandoned this for a time. We put it on the back end of the list. We shouldn't have, whatever. That honesty actually earns you some respect then, that when you say, but now we're doing this, that I think that brings people back around. I think so. It's a weird balancing act where you have to have a certain amount of new goodies, new tasty treats for the new people. You have to have your hype and sizzle that brings in the new people, the like brand new, that are going to buy it based on that hype and sizzle. And then you have to have cookies for the old guard, the players that have been with you for a long time. Now, some of them you're just not going to get back. They're at the point now where they're salty because that's what they want to do, and that's what they're going to do. And you know what? Let it go. Put out a good product. Reach out to the people, because there are people that are on your team that want to go on this ride with you. They want to be excited. They want to have hope and aspiration and whatever. Reach out to them, because you can get them. It's possible. It's there for you. It's there. So these frustrations, I feel like they've built up. They should be addressed. The best way to address them, like I said, get David Braben out there, have the community management people ahead of time make some statements saying like, hey, we understand that you're frustrated about this and this. We're actually working on that and that. We're so excited that you guys have passion for and haven't forgot CQC. We're so excited that you guys are really, so passionate and have hung in there for so long with AXI stuff. We're so excited that you guys are passionate about these aspects of wing and multi-crew and whatever, because we're ready now. We're making these changes, and we're going to address these things. I think they're going to. Some people think I'm wrong. Some people think I'm naive. We'll see. But I think time will tell. They say that they're going to announce things still on the same sort of schedule that they were planning on announcing it, even though COVID has pushed back the release of Next Era. Keep in mind, they said COVID pushed back the release of Next Era until early 2021. They never said the last day of Q1. Now, is it a fairly realistic thing to think that it may be the last day of Q1? Maybe. Okay, yeah. I'm not going to... If I had to put money on it, that's where I would be putting money. But they never said that it was going to be then. So, for all we know, they could announce something, and say, hey, we're going to release it in the end of January, or we're going to release it in February, or it could be whatever, March, end of March. But when we see what's coming, then we'll know. And that kind of takes me into the last thing. Frontier has reached out more than lately. They've been reaching out sort of more effectively than ever before, I think, with or since maybe going back to Kickstarter days where they had amazing engagement. they had some hard times. They had some legitimate struggles with at the end of sort of the Horizon sort of time, mixed with a horrifically bad sort of leak of all kinds of stuff, and just they've had struggles. And when you put those together, yes, as a result, it seems like the company retreated into its shell. They went into hardcore defense mode, and that led to even more ill will with the population, because it was like, well, they're not telling us anything, they're not whatever. And it's like, dude, how could they? They're in a place where they almost can't say shit, because if you say one thing, people are like, confirmed, leak, confirmed, this confirms that, confirms this. They have just been in a rough spot. And I think now they're coming out of it. They're showing more engagement now than ever before. They're making changes in what I feel is an encouraging fashion. And I think now is the time for us to see a resurgence of one of Ed's old ideas, and that's the DDF. The DDF was a sort of the what is it, the Design Development Forum or whatever, was a group, a place on the forums.
The design decision forum, and then it changed to the design discussion forum.
Yes. I think it's time for Frontier to utilize. Frontier has a lot of players that are completely sort of more sophisticated than your average game. This is not 12-year-olds Fortnite players. This game has a lot of people that were inspired by the original 1984 Elite to get into game design or software development or engineering or whatever. It has a lot of people that are very smart and very capable that are putting out things. When you look at stuff like EDDB.io, Inara,
amazing.
Amazing. Yeah, Down to Earth Astronomy with his Commander's Toolbox, the Commander's Toolbox. When you look at the artist, creative, engineer, design, all of these people that have done so many things with third party, EDSM, EDMC, all of these things, man. I think Frontier needs to use that, needs to start reaching out to certain members of the community. I don't know if you do this, quietly behind the scenes, if you reach out to certain people in, a couple content creators and a couple of third party, resource creators or whatever, and quietly start back up the DDF in some way. I think from what I've seen in talking both with Tim and Steven and Bruce, they're looking to reach out more. They're looking to engage more. They're looking to make sort of full use of their resources so that they can better do their job of relaying and conveying information back and forth, conveying information from us to Frontier and from Frontier to us. And the stuff that they can do on their regular streams and through whatever, that does a good enough job. They do an excellent job of conveying information from Frontier to us. I think once they get past, once Next Era launches and they get past this bullshit of they've been hamstrung behind whatever asshole decided to leak their private stuff, like, they will be in a much better place to be more open and forthcoming. So information coming from the community to us, or from Frontier to us, needs to be, I think, more FaceTime with Dr. K, more FaceTime with David Braben, more FaceTime with Zach and other members of the team. And again, this can be pre-recorded stuff. That's fine. Coming back, but there also, the second part of it, there needs to be more there needs to be more information coming from us to Frontier in a more targeted way, in a more constructive way that they can use. So
more curated, perhaps.
yeah, not just sort of the random whatever, but like stuff where they need to say, they need to have somebody say like, hey man, we're thinking about putting out fleet carriers. Okay, cool. Well, all right, what do we think about this? What do we think? Well, I don't think it would be a good idea to have a design situation where I have to hold down the plus button for 15 minutes so that I could set a price on something that I want to sell. Oh, yeah, okay, that's a good point. Hey, man, just so you know, you need to make sure that you don't have wing bonuses work with fleet carriers, because I can sell shit to my own fleet carrier and generate 4 billion credits an hour by just setting up a script to do that for for multiple of my friends in a wing. Oh, okay, yeah. There's issues that maybe we'll see that they might not, and it could be targeted conversations where they say like, hey man, we think that a lot of people would like bookmark folders. But we also think that people might want, I don't know, the ability to just pick a number and buy power play items all at one go. And then, from a cross section that they pick, or that they converse with, they can maybe get some kind of feedback or some information. And I mean, maybe even there could be some other projects behind the scenes that certain people can help out with in a sort of a curated way. And yes, Commander Arson Cross, money printer go burr. That Down to Earth had that exactly right. And, hey, a ticket has been opened. Frontier, I can confirm that I know for a fact, Frontier is absolutely aware of that and is absolutely going to be addressing that. How they go about it, that's a thing that we'll see. But yeah, I think there's ways that Frontier can leverage their very sort of unique asset of this community, the how do I say it, the sort of sophisticated members of this community that can provide them with some real useful help on the design side going forward. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of echo what I said earlier. Is that, and you touched on this too, guys? Is the players of this game have a level of maturity and sophistication, like you just said, that other games simply do not. And I think, even going back to what Roy mentioned about Frontier's assets, that I think is one of those key assets. So there are many of us out there who can provide constructive feedback, which I think is what you're getting at. Giving these guys constructive feedback to help improve the quality of gameplay, the quality of life, and not, I now I'm going to do my own Dunning-Kruger here, but these aren't big changes that we're asking for. We're not asking for things that are completely outlandish and ridiculous, but they're, again, I think it's constructive feedback that Frontier should be able to have the open dialogue with. And I know that they try to do it through the forums and other avenues of communications, but I would agree with you that it would be nice to see it, like you mentioned, a little bit more formal. The weekly random game streams, I think, is some semblance of an attempt to do that. But at the same time, I would say that something more formal and organized and organized would probably be more ideal and a better way to kind of get number one, the community engagement, the trust that you guys mentioned, and the improvements to the game that everybody's looking for.
Roy, your thoughts on our last sort of major topic?
Yeah, again, agree with what both of you have been saying. I think one of the traps for FF to avoid some companies is they get larger and larger, and they try to do things more like the other big corporate companies do. They forget what made them successful to get there in the first place. And the things that made elite successful were, a strong and passionate vision from a singular leader, David Braden. And then by the time it got to Elite Dangerous, real engagement at a very granular level with mature, reasoned, enthusiastic. And that's, I give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't think that's new news to them. I just hope that there's not some, I don't know, companies sometimes get sideways when they get run by the accountants instead of the people who had the original vision, right? And I just hope that David can hang on to that vision and just remember where it came from, and that magic is still there to be captured.
I definitely think that it's there, and I think that what we're about to see launched in Next Era, which we should be hearing details on in the coming months, I think is going to. It's not going to silence the critics. I always want to say this is going to silence the critics, but it's not, because shitty people like to just be shitty. That's their enjoyment state. That's what they want, and that's what they're going to do. But it's going to, I think, silence the people that are on the fence that were leaning towards the criticism. The people that are being rational and are willing to hear out both sides and go with it. I think it's going to make them feel comfortable that things are now back in. There was a misstep. Let's acknowledge that, but it's now moving at a good pace in the right direction. And the thing is until Next Era drops, people can't see that for themselves, and they don't want to take my word for it. So all I ask is that you wait and watch and see, and then decide for yourself when you see it. So that's all. That's all. On the topic of some of the amazing content creators and sophisticated sort of members of fan base and whatnot, let's take a moment to call out Spatula 007, who is in the chat right now and is giving his thoughts and impressions and feelings on this stuff. If you guys have not seen Spatula 007, if you haven't seen his Elite Dangus theories, you are missing out, because this shit is fucking hilarious. His stuff is so good. Spatula, link it in the chat, your channel there. I mean, I've seen all of your stuff and I've got you listed, but I just want everybody that's watching live to see it. Spatula is amazing and hilarious, and his Elite Dangus, his Elite Dangus line of like, it's the guy, what's his name, check it out with Dr. Steve Brule. It's that. He's doing that. He's doing, hey, yeah, you dingus, where it's like, it's the most amazing crackpot, half-baked theories ever that are hilarious. They are just comedy gold. You should definitely check it out. So I'll include a link to that actually in the show notes as well, so people, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now can see that. So yeah, check that out. I will say we're recording this Tuesday night. I think you're going to pay attention in the forums tomorrow, or at the very latest Thursday. You may see some something from Frontier, a little something, a little more love on the fleet carrier side with some changes, and look forward to that. And I think fleet carriers are very, very good where they're at now. I think there's a couple little bugs that need to be addressed. I think fleet carriers definitely need something addressed with handling the fuel management, something addressed with setting up multi-jumps, and they need to fix that sitting there with your hand on the plus button for 15 minutes to buy stuff or to set a sales price. But other than that, man, they fixed the decommissioning. They added the UC. They fixed that your fleet carrier carries your own fleet stock. They fixed that, you know, they fixed the upkeep cost, which was sort of ridiculous at the beginning, but is now much more doable. Uh, they still need to fix the sales aspect, selling ships, selling modules, but I just don't think that they're gonna, because we're seeing half the product. I think that this is designed towards, fleet carriers are designed, the sales aspect of it is designed to work in conjunction with building modules, manufacturing modules after you get base building and the manufacturing ability. And it just, piloting space boats, absolutely, Fee. I just think that we're going to need next era to really fully see the power of fleet carrier sales, because as it stands now, where we're talking about buying the pre-selected packs of fully priced stuff and then trying to resell that for even more money to other people is like, what? That's a non-starter. But look forward to seeing that as things move forward. Fee, any closing thoughts?
Let me see. I don't think so. I think we touched on a lot of subjects. I think really, I think we're all on the same page with a lot of these topics. Whether it's what the debate has done for us in improving fleet carriers and what the next steps are there. What we are looking forward to seeing and around next era, and how we feel about what Frontier is doing overall for the game, and what we'd like to see from David and the rest of the crew to make it even better. And I think we've done that. Going back to where you work with the A team there, Kai. We've done that with as little salt as possible. We've taken a good, mature approach, and I want to again kind of echo what you said earlier. I appreciate everything that Frontier has done with the game. Again, I'm over 2,000 hours at least in Steam, and I've definitely no-lifed it as I've been playing, and I'm not afraid to say that I love this game. No, that's pretty much it for me. Beyond
Beautiful.
That, thanks for having me on the show.
Beautiful, man. And look forward to hearing more from Fee in the coming days, weeks, and months. And Roy?
Well, yeah, I would say I love this game, and that's how you started. And I just hope that the small things we could contribute today might land well with them, and give them some thoughts or some encouragement, or just a little nudge. Because I want to see this. I think as we all do, want to see this game stay great, get better, and just be that super fun sandbox we always love to play in. Just on the side note, I think it's great that we had such participation in chat. Good questions and comments there, and I'll just say thanks again for the opportunity to participate today.
Fantastic. Like I said, look forward to hearing more of Roy as well. And yeah. All right, guys. So I'm getting interdicted here. This guy wants my big haul. What he's going to get is some beam lasers and a big-ass multi-cannon. But let me take a moment away from killing him real quick to... hello, Mr. Hello, Mr. Anaconda. You're going to die in just a second. But first, let's give you guys some outro music to listen to. Some Lavian Brandy from Tokoso. And it's not playing it.
It was cold, I was freezing, I'd had too much booze. So I thought I would park up my cow for the night. She was packed to the gills with records I had saved. It's a big hole of box for my lady. My comms panel open, the voice said, ha, now give me 10 tons of your loot. I was stubborn and drunk and would not give this punk not one penny, so I blew it all. My lady was hungry for riches that night. With a rebuy I was down on my knees, but she just walked away from that empty ship bay. She said, you're not the man that I need. Oh, I turned to the dark side, I hardened my heart. Oh yes, I mean pirate I'd be. I flew out of that station and into the sun. Yes, I knew I had found what I'd be. I was flying my Cobra like out of Cromine, with a hole full of lady and brandy. I was swinging so deeply from my unmark, with the rest of London had round me. Maybe I found a girl and forgot how one night put up with my pirating ways. But until then I'll drink from this old unmark, and I hope that I'll meet her one day. One day, Christmas Day, oh, I'll win back your heart with my golden match arms. Oh, one day, Christmas Day, but until then I'll keep on my pirating ways. What hey? So I cooled down my Cobra and siren ran home. Sold all of my Levy and brandy, and some big bass neck gin just to get me